and welcome to Motivational Moments with Marissa. I am here and I'm your host. I am with Nathaniel X. Ross. He is the founder and CEO of Abundance Legacy. But Nathaniel has supported Own It magazine and publishing for quite some time, and he is one of our contributing writers. You can find his articles all through the year in the Own It magazine every single month. And so, taking center stage and owning it with me, and it's your life. Own it is Nathaniel Ross.
How are you today?
I am good. I am good. I'm good. Had such a good time catching up with you backstage
Yes.
and all of that good stuff. So share with the audience. This platform is all about self awareness, self development, and self mastery in the sense of owning your life. And so you speak to the area of our financial well being as well as balance, mind, body, and spirit. And so share with our audience what you want to talk about today.
Well, you you opened it up with own it, right? Either you can just exist in this world and let life happen to you, or you can make life what you want it to be. And 95% of the population is just letting life happen. Um, if you're going to, if someone's going to bed and they get up every day, they go do their job, they do their, whatever their routine is, they go through that routine, they come home, they eat, they spend a little time with the family, and they go to bed and they get up and do it again the next day. That's letting life happen to you.
Mhm.
And that's where 95% of the population is. We've got 7 billion people on the planet, and 95% of the population lives there. The other 5% is creating that vision of what they want their lives to be and then executing on that each day when they get up. And it's a lot of hard work, but it's extremely rewarding. And that's what it comes down to, owning your own life.
Mhm. Yeah. I believe that the challenge comes from is that, and we've had this conversation before, it's about the conversations that we're having, whether, in our upbringing, whether we've had certain conversations that will cause us to be awakened and aware of certain things in our lives and some of the things that we have to do that are basic. And whether or not at some point in our life, we look and evaluate where we are and say some things need to change, and then having the knowledge and the resources to be able to change those things. And so, with the abundance legacy, there's so much that you have to offer folks in regards to helping them to get that place. Because ownership and really taking authority comes from having confidence, and confidence comes from our knowledge base. What knowledge do we have? And the more knowledge that we have, and the more that we apply that knowledge in real life, the more we can own it and be confident and bold in it. But I believe that it starts from family conversations. It's like when we're little and growing up, what are the conversations and where's the family's area of focus in those conversations, as to what we become knowledgeable about, and can apply to our lives. So talk about the different programs that your organization offers.
Well, we developed these programs through the nonprofit because, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of people making excuses of why they can't make it in life. So, and when I ask people, what are your obstacles? In their mind, the obstacle is always, I don't have the money. So we created these programs to eliminate that excuse, so that they can start coming to terms with and addressing. So like I post on social media daily quotes to give people food for thought that make them feel good and something to think about. And people are like, oh yeah, that's great, but it doesn't give me any insight. So it's like, okay, so now we've created some programs that's going to give a whole lot of insight, and we're going to see what excuses people have for not participating and joining in those programs. So we created a podcast. So we're a year and a half into the podcast, Real Choices, Real Life. And we started it so that we could have a continued discussion based off of my coaching practice, a holistic approach to life, where we're covering, spirituality, health, family, finances, career, education, and community involvement. So we have a weekly conversation on one of those areas where we're having, sometimes it's just my co-host Jessica and I, and then other times we bring in experts to talk about whatever field or area that we're having the conversation and discussion around. So what the podcast does is not only eliminate that excuse that you can't get to people that you normally wouldn't be able to get to because they're part of my network. I'm bringing them to you free of charge. So you're now getting to learn from those people at no cost. And all you got to do is show up and listen. So that's what the purpose of that podcast is. And in a year and a half, we've gone from 0 listeners to, and we got to check the numbers again because we haven't checked the numbers since 3 months ago. But as of 3 months ago, we're in 17 countries with 40,000 followers.
Wow.
And we're looking to double that by the end of this year. So people can no longer say that the experts aren't available to them because the podcast comes out every Wednesday at noon. A new episode releases, and you have the opportunity to learn.
Yeah. You sound like me, but you're a little bit more direct than I am, and you get to a point where I think the frustration is more so just not seeing people live in the capacity that they can live in. And my biggest thing is tap into and unleash your unlimited potential, because that's where your happiness and fulfillment lie, right? Your happiness and your fulfillment lies when you are operating at your full potential, because you're actually getting a chance to see, like, wow, I am really this great person who has a lot to offer. And when we're not showing up in that capacity, we are depressed. We're not happy. And when we're not happy mentally, it shows up in our bodies physically. And Teresa, one of our contributing writers, Teresa Palmer, talks about that. And talks about how when we're emotionally not well, we're physically not well. And so all of this ties in together, and you are providing the resources that they need in order for them to succeed. And so let's talk about your podcast. And are you ready to give them a glimpse into your podcast?
Sure, we could.
Yeah, let's give them a glimpse into this podcast. So here we go.
Have you been noticing that your energy levels have been going down the drain lately? Like you just don't have the drive or the passion to do your best anymore? Do you feel like your life is slowly falling apart and there is just nothing you can do to make the situation any better? The Real Choices, Real Life podcast is meant to serve as a lifeline for those of you who need that little extra push to get your life back on track. Our motivational speakers and lifestyle coaches are here to show you how to navigate through your most difficult days. The podcast is hosted weekly and features guests who share their own real-life difficult experiences and the real choices they made to navigate and pass these difficult times. Tune in today while on your way to work or even while cooking dinner for the family. Please check us out, abundancelegacy.org, to register.
Yeah, so we get into some exciting conversations.
I just want to show them your flyer announcement so that they can see your beautiful co-host.
Yeah, she's the talent. I'm the sidekick.
You're the sidekick. Yeah, there it is. Wednesdays at 12 noon. Check it out. Real choices, real life podcast. And just like you said, it's so important, and to have routine access so they know that it's there every Wednesday at 12 noon. They can chime in. They can also, follow you on your podcast and listen to previous podcasts, and actually scroll through to see what shows they've missed and see them. I love being on Blog Talk Radio. And I was even thinking about doing that again, because we do need to be visible in so many areas so that people have access to great information that's really going to give them the results that they need. Because just like you said earlier, is that, quotes are really nice and they're great, but they doesn't give you the in-depth steps and guidance that you need to actually obtain what the quote is telling you. So if you want to live a great life, you need to know how to live that great life, and you need to know that in detail.
Yep. So we just released a website specifically for the podcast, so people can go on Real Choices Real Life .com. Yeah, .com, and you can see all the back episodes there. You can even drop a note, give us a rating if you like what you're hearing. People, there are no excuses anymore. There are none. So we hope that we're reaching out to people, and we are, because we're making a difference in such a year and a half, and such an impact on the globe. And one of my hardest lessons were, stop trying to help people that don't want help. There's enough people out there that do want help, and it's not about geography, it's not about the US, right? If we can help people in the US, that's great. But if we can help people around the world that's willing to learn, then we help people around the world.
Right. Yep. And you have to, and there's so much information out here that you need to buckle down and find the right sources and do your homework to check to make sure that the resources that are reliable and valid. And then you got to stick to those areas, because this is massive. I forget his name. I was trying to actually look him up. But he talked about yesterday in regards to the television and cable, the way it used to be. That's all dismantling. And you're going to have to find your sources, and you're going to have to make sure that they're valid and reliable so that you're getting the information that you need regularly for you to achieve the things that you want to achieve in your life. It's critically important because things have changed. We have readily access to information on a regular basis. And so we want to make change. We can actually make those changes. And so talk a little bit more about your the nonprofit, and how people can work with you through the nonprofit. How can they work with you directly? They have the podcast as one resource. How can they work with you directly?
Well, again, we wanted to remove the excuses, because people say, oh, well, it's a podcast, we can't actually talk with you, and we can't necessarily get our questions answered in real time. So what we've created is support groups. And we have a support group for men, we have a support group for women, and we have a middle of the day or middle of the week hump day support group. And people can call in, and because there are conversations that men should be having that women should not be privy to. And there are conversations that women should have that men shouldn't be privy to. And then there are conversations that men and women should be having together. So we've created those platforms that occur every week for an hour, where you get to talk with me and my team, and you get to ask us whatever questions you want to ask and get real-time responses. So now we've eliminated that excuse that you're not getting to talk to someone, that you got to listen to it and then figure out on your own whatever the answer, whatever the subsequent questions that you come up with. All you got to do is listen to the podcast. If you got more questions, come on over into the support group and speak with us live. So we do the Let me make sure I get these right. We do the women's group on Mondays from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. We do the hump day group on Wednesdays from 7 to 8 p.m. And then we do the men's group on Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. And we are there whether someone shows up or not. We're there. We're committed to being there every week. And whoever shows up, we're willing to support in any way that we can.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. Because just like you said, if we want for people to change, or we're believing God for their greatness as leaders, as CEOs and providers of service, we have to make sure that they have access to those services. And so what should they expect being in these different groups? What should they expect in those environments?
Oh, well, the biggest thing they should expect is truth. And it's probably going to upset some folks. But we don't have petty discussions in our support groups. We're either teaching a lesson or we're having conversation around somebody's real issue. We were having in the men's group, we were having a conversation about how men need to step up their game and how they need to show up and how they need to set the tone in the household. And some of the things that were shared, some of the guys had to look at themselves and say, hey, I'm failing my family. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, so you no longer have the excuse that you haven't been exposed to or you don't know. So now what are you going to do about it? Yeah. And because we meet every week, people, ebb and flow in and out of it. But if you really want to help, you're going to show up every week. And now you have an accountability team that's going to help and support you through the process.
Yeah.
So I'll give you two examples. So we got one gentleman who wants to lose weight. And we told him, this is what you need to do to start losing weight. And it was real simple, 10,000 steps a day. Drink water, 10,000 steps a day, and stop eating the bread and the fried foods and white stuff. And he has jumped into it and he's doing it. We have a text set up where we're texting each other throughout the week, and he's submitting his steps and he's thriving. Then you have the guys who show up that want a pity party and they want to, my life is this, my life is that. And you tell them, well, here are things that you can do that you can better that situation. And then they come back and a week later or 2 weeks later, they're telling the same story, and we tell them, shut up. Because either we're not there to have a gossip session.
Right.
We're there to support in bringing and manifesting change in people's lives. Now, I can't tell you what happened in the women's group. I think it fundamentally functions the same way. Right. And the only reason I can't tell you because I don't get to participate in the women's group. But it is based on being supportive and from a holistic standpoint, and they talk about the different areas and how they can support each other. And women tend to do a good job of that, more so better than men. So I think it's quite, people coming in, it's quite refreshing for guys to go, wow, we have a place that we can actually talk now, and know that it's not about judgment. Right. So it's good. And then hump day is, look, everybody's trying to make it through the week. Everybody's trying to make it through the week. So that call is just hey, had a rough 3 days. I need the energy. I got to get energized. Give me drop something in my spirit that's going to help me make it to Friday. Yeah. So that's what we do.
Yeah. And that's so important. But I will tell you this, as a woman, that we can do even better. So we may be doing good, but we can do even better than that across the board. So we need some help as well. And what I've learned across over the last few years is that we have a lot more in common, men and women, in our conversations
Yeah.
than we don't have in common. And so, one of the things I would like to push out there is that we're not from two different planets. We're not from Venus and from Mars. We're all from the planet Earth. And we can communicate. We can communicate and we can understand one another as it pertains to the dynamics of a woman and a man, especially in the love relationship and inside marriages. I think that, as a society, we've pushed so much of the ball and chain and the difficulties of the relationship rather than how they complement each other, and they were designed to complement each other. So I think if we start having more of that dialogue, we'll start getting the results of that, right? So whatever we say with our mouths, so should we have. So that's really good that you have the two groups.
Yep.
And then also too the check-in, because the midweek check-in, you need that refreshing. You need that refreshing. You need that refuel to finish out the week strong. So that's great. It's awesome that you have this available to, to your listeners.
Yeah. You said something earlier, and I want to go back to it. Discernment is extremely important. There's so much garbage out here today. And people say, oh, well, I saw it on the internet, it must be true. No, there's just as much garbage on the internet as there is good stuff.
Oh my God.
If you want to find something to support whatever it is that you believe, you can find it. Doesn't make it right, but you can find it. So people need to use discernment in terms of who are you listening to? Why are you listening to them? Because what you're seeing and what you're hearing is determining your heart space. And there's a lot of people out there that's doing a lot of garbage. People got to figure out for themselves. But I'm like, these shows here where the women are bashing each other and the men are doing, hey, that is not real life. And people aren't living like that in real life. And we have distorted entertainment from real life. So when I was a kid, I'm going to date myself here. When you went and turned on the news and Walter Cronkite was on the news, you got factual news about what was happening in the country and in the world. Today, when you turn on the news, entertainment news, and you're getting a political slant based on whoever owns the station and what point of view they want to convey. So now you got to figure out, what do I listen to that's going to give me real information, right, not what they want me to think. And that's one of the reasons that we built this platform with Abundance Legacy. Is the legacy is really about the education, where we're not trying to tell you to think one way or the other. We're telling you to think. You need to learn how to become a critical thinker. Yep. So we're not trying to sell you on anything, one way or the other. But we want you to educate yourselves and to be able to critically think and go, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Why are they saying this? Why are they doing this? And how does it impact my life and my family's life?
Yeah. You don't want to wake up and be in the ultimate crises because of a lack of knowledge and a lack of preparation. Critical thinking and deductive reasoning is what has to happen. You have to have a critical eye. You think critically. And that's to be awake, not just to be woke, but to be awake. And to really, really do your homework and become one who masters how to validate information. So how do you validate the source of the information? You got to keep drilling down. There's a third, fourth level resource. So is it word of mouth? Where is the original source of the information? Because secondhand information has a tendency to lose validation. It loses reliability. And so you want to make sure that that you know how to navigate through this network of all of this information, to be able to drill down to the originating source. This is critical because I forget his name. It's Roland. He does the political.
Yes.
Just out of I forget his last name. I was watching one of his shows yesterday, and he really talked about cable vision and how cable vision is losing. So he went over all the companies and all of this other stuff, and he gave the numbers on this information. And I've watched him for many, many years. I can't remember why. I don't know why I can't remember his full name. But anyway, he went over the fact that, because I said, I'm looking online for the news, right? So I'm here in the Dominican Republic and I'm looking on the line, looking for YouTube because I want to see live streaming of the news in the US.
Right.
And I'm looking and it says live at the top. It says live, right? So of course I'm like, okay, that's live. But then you have to go and dig deeper, because even though it says live up there, it's not live. It'll say down below 3 years ago. It'll say 3 months ago. So that's not live. Live is live in the now. And so why am I saying that? Because some of the information that you're looking at, if you're not careful enough to drill down, you'll assume it's accurate when it's inaccurate. And you want to make sure that you do your due diligence to not just jump on the title and run with the information, but you find out who the source is. And we got to start doing this now, because it's going to get worse. We're getting ready to walk away from Walter Cronkite and all of the, looking at 60 Minutes, looking at all of these true journalists. It's getting ready to be replaced with all of us. And all of us saying all of us, right? So we're not all operating on the same level of expertise, knowledge, insight, and without a hidden agenda. Just like you said, we're not trying to sell you anything. We're not. What we're trying to do is say, hey, wake up and check out, do the assessment, do the self-assessment of where you are and where you want to be. And do your due diligence in finding out who's providing you with that information.
Yeah, so we don't have any sponsorship, so we don't have anyone telling us if you don't say this or say that, you're not going to get money. So
yeah, we don't have that. So with that being said, let's talk about how do people, okay, because you're a nonprofit, how do people provide any type of level of support to the work that you're doing?
Well, there's two ways that people can help out. One is they can volunteer their time, and they can just go onto the website, www.abundancelegacy.org, and there's a section there for volunteers, and you can fill in your information and say, hey, this is where I think I can support and contribute that. To the cause of helping other people, because all we're about is help us help others, And, one of the beautiful things about what we do is the money goes directly to the cause, right? So a lot of nonprofits have large overheads. Our overhead might be 1%. So 99 cents on a dollar is going to actual programming to directly help the people that we're trying to help. So the second way is to really go onto the website and make a financial contribution and know that your money is going to the cause, not to some high administrative cost. And we're able to do that because we are the people that are involved. My team, we're financially set. So I retired from corporate America, and I don't have to work another day in my life, and I'm financially taken care of. So I'm not out there trying to figure out how I'm going to get some food on my table or pay a mortgage or pay for my car note. That's all taken care of. So at this point in my life, it's all about how do I help other people, right? and my team is very very supportive of the mission, and they're in the same place that I am in terms of helping people. So, we're just doing it.
Now, we have a nice video here I want to share with our audience. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right, awesome.
The Abundance Legacy Holistic Center acknowledges the need for free access to information and support groups that could benefit a large community of people who have no one to guide them. However, a very dedicated team is working behind the scenes to make this happen. This community would not exist if it weren't for these dedicated individuals who open their hearts to the world. If you believe in our services and want us to continue to help individuals in need, consider paying it forward so we can further extend our support to more communities. You can choose to donate directly to a specific program or the entire center in general. No donation is too big or too small. Help us help others make better life decisions so we can all grow as a community. All donations are tax deductible. Please check us out, abundancelegacy.org, to register.
That is us. Yes.
Oh, that is awesome. That's awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you. This has been an awesome session with you. You talked about the podcast. You talked about giving to Abundance Legacy. And you also shared about the groups that you have for men, women,
Yes.
as well as having a midweek check-in, your hump day check-in. And that's phenomenal. I'm looking forward to our next session where we're going to be talking about your boot camp.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's going to be exciting. I look forward to it. Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so very much for your time, and we pray that we have been a blessing to you, and that you have now been fired up to take center stage and own it. This is your life. Own it. We're out.